The Bus Driver's Warning. Part 1. The Routine. Every weekday morning at 7:15, I boarded the number 43 bus at the corner of Madison and 5th. For 3 years, this had been my routine: the same bus, the same driver, the same seat near the middle where I could watch the city wake up through smudged windows. I was a creature of habit, which my ex-wife Caroline had always said would be my downfall. Turned out, it would be my salvation. The driver's name was Marcus. He was a broad-shouldered man in his 60s with salt and pepper hair and the kind of face that had seen everything twice. We developed the sort of friendship that exists between people who share the same space regularly but know almost nothing about each other's lives. A nod, a morning, sometimes a comment about the weather or the traffic. The Tuesday in September started like any other. The air had that first hint of autumn crispness, and I was nursing a travel mug of coffee that had already gone lukewarm. I stepped onto the bus, tapped my card, and Marcus did something he'd never done before. He grabbed my arm. "Michael," he said, his voice low and urgent, "I need to talk to you. Sit up front today." I blinked, startled. Marcus had never called me by name before, though he must have known it from my transit card. The handful of other early morning passengers, the nurse with her scrubs, the construction worker with his lunch pail, the college student with her oversized headphones, paid us no attention. "Is everything okay?" I asked. "Just sit, we'll talk at the end of the route, it's important." The bus pulled into traffic and I slid into the seat directly behind Marcus. My mind raced through possibilities. Had I done something wrong? Was he ill? Retiring? The next 45 minutes crawled by with agonizing slowness. I pretended to look at my phone, but I couldn't focus on anything. Marcus drove with his usual steady competence, making the familiar stops, greeting the familiar faces. Finally, we reached the end terminal near the business district. The last passengers filed off. Marcus turned off the engine and swiveled in his seat to face me. "Your ex-wife," he said without preamble. "Caroline, she approached me last week." The coffee in my stomach turned to ice. Caroline and I had been divorced for 18 months. The split had been acrimonious. She'd had an affair with her yoga instructor, a man named Derek who drove a Tesla and talked incessantly about manifesting abundance. I'd walked away from the marriage with my dignity barely intact, a modest settlement, and a profound desire to never hear her name again. "What did she want?" I asked, though I already sensed this wouldn't be good. Marcus pulled out his phone and showed me a screenshot. It was a text conversation. Caroline's messages made my blood run cold. "I need your help with something. Michael rides your bus every morning, right? I need you to do me a favor. There's money in it for you." Marcus scrolled down. The conversation continued with Caroline explaining her favor. She wanted Marcus to get me talking, to befriend me more deeply, to find out about my financial situation. Specifically, she wanted to know about an inheritance. My hands clenched into fists. 3 months ago, my uncle Raymond had passed away. He'd been a bachelor, a successful patent attorney who'd lived modestly despite his wealth. He'd left me $100,000, a sum that had allowed me to finally pay off my student loans and start saving seriously for the first time in my adult life. I'd mentioned it to exactly 3 people: my sister, my accountant, and apparently somehow Caroline had found out. "She offered me $5,000, Marcus continued, to help her reconnect with you. Said you two had unfinished business, that the divorce had been a mistake, that she wanted to make amends. She gave me a whole script about how I should mention seeing her around the neighborhood, how I should tell you she'd been asking about you, seemed regretful." "Jesus," I muttered. "It got worse. Yesterday she upped the offer to $10,000. She wanted me to arrange a chance meeting. Said she'd be at Morty's Cafe on Thursday morning and I should suggest you stop there for coffee. Tell you they have the best espresso in the city or something." Marcus's expression was grim. "Son, I've been driving this bus for 23 years. I've seen all kinds of people, all kinds of schemes. This woman is planning something and it ain't good." I leaned back in the seat, my mind reeling. Morty's Cafe was the place where Caroline and I had our first date 7 years ago. She would know the nostalgia factor, the emotional manipulation inherent in choosing that location. And if Marcus had played along, if he'd set me up to accidentally run into her there, surrounded by those memories. "What did you tell her?" I asked. "I told her I'd think about it. I wanted to talk to you first." Marcus studied my face. "You seem like a good man, Michael. Quiet, keep to yourself, always polite. I got a daughter about your age. If some ex was scheming on her like this, I'd want someone to tell her." "Thank you," I said, and I meant it with every fiber of my being. "Thank you for telling me." "You need to be careful," Marcus warned. "If she's willing to pay a stranger 10 grand to help set you up, whatever she's after is worth a lot more than that." Part 2. Investigation. I didn't go to work that day. Instead, I called in sick and went home to my small apartment in the Riverside district. It wasn't much, a one-bedroom on the fourth floor of a building that had seen better decades, but it was mine. Mine in a way the house I'd shared with Caroline never had been, despite my name being on the mortgage. I made fresh coffee and sat at my kitchen table, Marcus's warning echoing in my head. Caroline wasn't the type to give up easily. If Marcus had refused her, she'd find another way to get to me. I needed to understand what she was planning. I started with social media. Caroline had blocked me on everything after the divorce, but I still had access to my sister Jennifer's accounts. I texted her, "Need a favor. Can you look at Caroline's Facebook and Instagram? Don't interact, just screenshots." Jennifer called me within minutes. "What's going on?" I told her everything, Marcus's warning, the inheritance, Caroline's scheme. Jennifer had never liked Caroline, had warned me against marrying her in the first place. She'd seen through the charm to the calculation beneath, the way Caroline always positioned herself to maximize her advantage. "I'm looking at her profiles now," Jennifer said. I could hear clicking in the background. "Okay, this is interesting. She's posting a lot about gratitude, second chances, personal growth. There's a whole series from last month about making amends with people you've hurt. Oh, and get this, she's in some kind of life coaching program. Certified relationship recovery specialist." "Oh." "She's building a narrative," I said slowly. "Setting up the story that she's changed, that she's been doing inner work. There's more, she's posted several times about being at Morty's cafe, revisiting old memories, grateful for the lessons of the past. Michael, she's been staging this for weeks, maybe longer." My phone buzzed. Jennifer had sent a dozen screenshots. I scrolled through them, my stomach churning. Caroline looked good in the photos she always had. Blonde hair perfectly tousled, yoga-toned body in expensive athleisure wear, that smile that had once made me believe I was the luckiest man alive. But now I could see the calculation in it, the performance. "There's someone else you should know about," Jennifer continued. "Derek's not in any of these pictures. I did some digging. They broke up 4 months ago. Apparently, he emptied their joint bank account and moved to Costa Rica with a woman he met at a sound healing retreat." I couldn't help it, I laughed. It was a bitter, sharp sound. Karma's real after all. "Maybe, but Michael, if she's broke and knows you have money." Jennifer didn't need to finish the sentence. After we hung up, I did what I should have done when Uncle Raymond's inheritance first hit my account. I called my lawyer. Tom Bradshaw had handled my divorce, and while I'd hoped never to need his services again, I was grateful he was just a phone call away. Tom listened to everything, taking notes. When I finished, he was quiet for a long moment. "This is attempted fraud," he said finally. "She's trying to manipulate you into giving her access to money that's legally yours. The question is how she planned to do it." "What do you mean?" "Well, she can't exactly run into you at a cafe and ask for 100 grand. She's building towards something. My guess, she approaches you, plays on your emotions, maybe suggests getting coffee to talk, really talk. She apologizes, cries a little, says she's been in therapy and realizes how badly she treated you. Then over the next few weeks, she slowly reels you in. Maybe she suggests being friends, then more than friends, and eventually she has some kind of emergency. Medical bills, maybe, or an investment opportunity, or she needs to help a sick relative, something that requires exactly the amount of money she knows you have." The scenario was so plausible it made my skin crawl. What do I do? First, don't engage at all. If she reaches out, don't respond. Second, document everything. Get a formal statement from Marcus if he's willing. Keep those text screenshots. Third, I'm going to send you some paperwork. We're going to file a restraining order if she makes any direct contact. And fourth, and this is important, Michael, we're going to protect your assets. How? There are several options. Trusts, different account structures. The key is making sure that even if she somehow did manipulate you, the money would be legally protected. Think of it as insurance against your own potential future bad judgment. I winced at that, but he was right. I'd already proven I could be fooled by Caroline once. Who was to say she couldn't do it again? Part 3: The Trap Springs. I followed Tom's advice. He drafted documents that moved my inheritance into a trust that I controlled but couldn't easily liquidate without multiple layers of approval. It seemed excessive until Thursday morning, when I made my usual commute and saw Caroline for myself. Marcus had warned me she might try anyway, even without his help. And there she was, sitting in the window of Morty's cafe as the bus drove past, perfectly positioned so that anyone passing by would see her. She was alone, looking thoughtful and beautiful and sad in the morning light. "Still at it," Marcus muttered from the driver's seat. "She doesn't give up," I agreed. But I did notice something. Marcus wasn't the only one watching. A man in a dark jacket was standing near the cafe entrance, his attention fixed on his phone in a way that seemed performative. Surveillance, maybe. I made a note of it. That evening my email pinged, an unknown sender, subject line, "Michael, please read this." I hovered over the delete button, then curiosity got the better of me. The email was from Caroline. "Dear Michael, I know this message will surprise you, and you have every right to delete it without reading, but I'm hoping you'll give me just a few minutes of your time. I've been doing a lot of work on myself since the divorce. Therapy, meditation, a life coaching certification program that's helped me understand the patterns that led me to hurt you so badly. I'm not asking for forgiveness, I don't deserve it, but I would like the chance to apologize in person, to show you that I understand what I did wrong. I've been going to Morty's on Thursday mornings, hoping I might see you. I know it's where we had our first date, and maybe that's manipulative of me. Maybe I'm still falling into old patterns of trying to control situations, but it's also the place where I first realized I was falling in love with you, and I wanted to return to that memory before trying to reach out. I'm not asking to get back together. I'm not asking for anything except the chance to buy you a coffee and say I'm sorry, face to face, the way you deserved all along. If you're willing, I'll be at Morty's next Thursday at 8 a.m. If you don't come, I'll understand and I won't contact you again. With regret and respect. Caroline." The email was masterful, vulnerable without being pathetic, self-aware without being self-pitying, asking for little while implying the possibility of more. If I hadn't known about her approach to Marcus, if I hadn't seen Jennifer's screenshots, if Tom hadn't walked me through the likely con, I might have actually considered it. I forwarded the email to Tom and Jennifer without responding. Tom called immediately. "Don't reply, don't acknowledge. This is the opening move." "What do I do?" "Nothing, let her play her hand, she'll escalate." He was right. Over the next week I received 3 more emails. Each one was slightly more emotional, slightly more urgent. Caroline mentioned that she was going through a difficult time, that she'd lost someone close to her, Derek, presumably, though she didn't name him, that she'd been reflecting on all the people she'd hurt and I was at the top of the list. Then came the phone call. I was at my desk at work. I'm a systems analyst for a mid-sized insurance company, the kind of job that's steady but not exciting, when my cell phone rang with a number I didn't recognize. I let it go to voicemail. Caroline's voice, warm and familiar and devastating. "Hi Michael, I know you probably won't want to hear from me and I understand. I wanted to hear your voice, I guess, even if it's just your voicemail message. I'm not doing well and I'm trying not to lean on people the way I used to, trying to take responsibility for my own healing. But I keep thinking about the good times we had and wondering if there's any way to salvage something. Not a relationship, I'm not asking for that, but maybe a friendship. Maybe just closure. I'll be at Morty's tomorrow morning. I know I keep saying that like a crazy person. Maybe I'm a little crazy. Anyway, I hope you're doing well. I hope you're happy. You deserve to be happy." The message was designed to tug at every protective instinct, every memory of the woman I'd once loved enough to marry. I saved it and sent it to Tom. His response was immediate. "She's getting desperate." That's actually good. Desperate people make mistakes. Part 4, The Accomplice. The mistake came from an unexpected source. I was having dinner with Jennifer at her place on Friday evening when she looked at her phone and frowned. "That's weird." "What?" "I just got a Facebook message from someone named Melissa Hartwell. Says she's a friend of Caroline's and needs to talk to me about something important regarding you." Every alarm bell in my head started ringing. "Don't respond yet, let me see." Jennifer handed me her phone. Melissa Hartwell's profile picture showed a woman in her 30s with auburn hair and a friendly smile. Her profile was sparse, only a few months old, limited information. A fake account, or at least a curated one. The message read, "Hi Jennifer, I hope you don't mind me reaching out. I'm a friend of Caroline's from her life coaching program. She's mentioned your brother Michael a few times, and I'm a little worried about her mental state. I was hoping we could talk. I think she might be planning something self-destructive, and I thought you might want to know." "It's another angle," I said. "They're trying to get to me through you." Jennifer took her phone back. "You think Caroline has a partner in this?" "Has too, the fake profile, the approach to Marcus, the surveillance I saw at the cafe. She's got help. Someone who knows how to run a con." Jennifer's face hardened. "What if I play along, see what Melissa wants?" "Absolutely not, these people are." "Michael," Jennifer fixed me with the same look she'd used when we were kids, and she was about to do something reckless regardless of my objections. "You're my brother. This woman hurt you once already, and now she's trying to scam you. Let me help, I'll be careful." Against my better judgment, and after a quick consultation with Tom, who surprised me by approving the idea, we crafted a response. Jennifer wrote, "Thanks for reaching out. I'm concerned too. When would you want to talk?" Melissa replied within minutes, suggesting they meet for coffee the next day. Jennifer countered with a phone call instead, safer, easier to record. Melissa agreed. We set up at Jennifer's dining room table, with my phone recording the call on speaker. Jennifer dialed at exactly 2 p.m. as agreed. "Jennifer, this is Melissa. Thanks so much for calling." The voice was smooth, professional, with a slight southern accent. "I wanted to talk to you about Caroline. We became close through the coaching program, and she's confided in me about her situation with your brother." "What situation?" Jennifer asked, playing innocent perfectly. "Well, she's been trying to make amends. She knows she hurt Michael badly, and she's been working really hard on herself. But she's also going through a terrible time financially. Her ex-partner, not Michael, the guy after, he really did a number on her, left her with a lot of debt." "I'm sorry to hear that, but I'm not sure what this has to do with me." Melissa's voice took on a conspiratorial tone. "Here's the thing. Caroline heard through the grapevine that Michael received an inheritance recently. She would never ask him for money directly. She has too much pride and she knows it wouldn't be appropriate. But I was thinking, what if you talk to him? Just let him know that Caroline's struggling, that she's changed, that maybe he could find it in his heart to help her out. Not a huge amount, maybe just enough to get her back on her feet. 20 or 30,000. There it was, the ask, the whole purpose of this elaborate scheme. Jennifer let the silence stretch. "Let me make sure I understand. You want me to convince my brother to give his ex-wife, the woman who cheated on him and broke his heart, $20,000 or $30,000. "I know how it sounds," Melissa said quickly, "but Caroline really has changed, and think about it from a calmer perspective. Michael's got this money he didn't earn, no offense, I know it was an inheritance, but he didn't work for it. Caroline's actively trying to better herself, to contribute to the world through her coaching work. Wouldn't it be beautiful if he used some of that windfall to help her become the best version of herself? It would be healing for both of them." The sheer audacity of it left me breathless. Jennifer caught my eye across the table, and I could see she was thinking the same thing. "I'll think about it," Jennifer lied. "Can I call you back?" "Of course, and Jennifer, maybe don't mention this to Michael just yet. Let me talk to Caroline first, make sure she's ready for that conversation. We don't want to spring it on him wrong." After they hung up, Jennifer and I sat in stunned silence. 20 or 30,000, she finally said. "As a starting point, what do you want to bet they'd have escalated from there?" "Tom needs to hear this," I said. Part 5, the countermoves. Tom's reaction to the recording was everything I'd hoped for. This is gold. Conspiracy to commit fraud, potentially wire fraud if any of their communications crossed state lines. We've got them. What do we do? We have a few options. 1, we take this to the police right now, file a report and pursue criminal charges. 2, we confront Caroline directly, make it clear we know what she's planning, and threaten legal action if she doesn't back off. 3, and this is the one I recommend, we set a trap of our own. I leaned forward. "I'm listening." Jennifer calls Melissa back, says she talked to you and you're actually open to helping Caroline. You've been feeling guilty about the divorce, wondering if you were too harsh, etc. But you want to meet with Caroline first, hear her out. You suggest meeting at Morty's just like she wanted. But here's the twist, we record the whole thing. Get her to explain exactly what she needs the money for, get her to commit to the lie on tape. Then we have ironclad evidence of attempted fraud. "Isn't that entrapment?" I asked. "Not even close. Entrapment is when law enforcement induces someone to commit a crime they wouldn't otherwise commit. This is just giving Caroline enough rope to hang herself with. She's already committed to the con. We're just documenting it." It was risky. It meant actually facing Caroline, actually having that conversation I'd been avoiding for 18 months. But the idea of ending this definitively, of making sure she couldn't try this again with someone else, was compelling. "I'll do it," I said. Jennifer made the call to Melissa the next day. The enthusiasm in Melissa's voice was palpable. They'd taken the bait. She said she'd talk to Caroline and get back to Jennifer within 24 hours. Sure enough, that evening I received an email from Caroline. This one was different from the others, more hopeful, more excited. "Michael, I heard from Jennifer that you might be willing to meet. I can't tell you what that means to me. I've been so afraid that I'd burned that bridge forever. I know you suggested Morty's. That's perfect. Thursday at 8 a.m. like I'd hoped from the beginning. I promise I won't take up too much of your time. I just want to talk to show you I've changed. Thank you for giving me this chance." Caroline. Tom prepared me extensively for the meeting. We would use my phone to record. New York was a one-party consent state, so I didn't need Caroline's permission to document our conversation. He coached me on how to get her talking, how to ask questions that would make her reveal her true intentions without tipping her off that I knew about the con. The key is to seem open but hesitant, Tom explained. Let her make her pitch, don't offer anything but don't shut her down either. Let her think she's winning you over. The days leading up to Thursday crawled by. I rehearsed conversations in my head, anticipated her arguments, her emotional appeals. I was terrified and angry, and underneath it all, still a little sad. This was the woman I'd once planned to spend my life with, and it had come to this, a sting operation in a cafe. Wednesday night, I barely slept. Thursday morning, Marcus gave me a solemn nod as I boarded the bus. You ready for this? As ready as I'll ever be. You're doing the right thing, he said. Protect yourself. I got off 3 stops early and walked to Morty's. The cafe was exactly as I remembered, exposed brick walls, the smell of fresh espresso, small round tables that wobbled slightly on the uneven floor. Caroline was already there, sitting at a table by the window, the same table where we'd had our first date. She looked up as I entered, and her face transformed. The smile was radiant, genuine seeming, devastating. She stood up, and for a moment I thought she might try to hug me, but she held back, reading my body language. Michael, you came. I wasn't sure you would. I almost didn't, I said honestly. I took the seat across from her, angling my chair slightly so my phone, recording in my jacket pocket, would pick up both our voices. Thank you for being here. Can I buy you a coffee? You used to get the Americano extra shot. Yeah, it hurt that she remembered. She ordered for both of us. She still drank oat milk lattes, and we sat in uncomfortable silence until the drinks arrived. Caroline wrapped her hands around her cup like she was cold, even though the cafe was warm. I've been practicing what to say, she began. I had this whole speech prepared, but now that you're here, it all feels inadequate. She took a breath. I'm sorry, Michael. I'm sorry for cheating on you, for lying, for all of it. You deserved so much better. Why now? I asked. It's been 18 months. I've been in therapy, real therapy, not just the surface stuff. And I'm in this life coaching program. I know how that sounds, like some self-help bullshit, but it's been really transformative. They make you look at your patterns, the ways you hurt people, and I kept coming back to us to how badly I messed up. She was good. If I didn't know about Marcus, about Melissa, about the whole elaborate scheme, I might have believed her. I heard you and Derek broke up, I said. Her face crumpled. Yeah, it was really hard. He left me with a lot of debt. Turns out he was the same kind of person I was when I was with you, selfish, looking for what he could get. I guess that's karma. I'm sorry, I said, and meant it. Not sorry enough to give her money, but sorry that anyone had to go through what she'd put me through. The thing is, she continued, and I could see her shifting gears, moving toward the pitch. I've been trying to rebuild my life. The coaching program is expensive, but it's worth it. I'm learning how to help people, really help them. And I've been thinking a lot about making amends, about reparations. Reparations? Yeah, like I hurt you financially when we divorced. I took more than I should have in the settlement. I'm not in a position to pay you back right now, but I want to, eventually. She looked up at me with those green eyes that used to make me forget how to form sentences. But to do that, I need to get myself stable first. And I'm struggling, Michael, really struggling. Here it came. Derek left me with about $40,000 in credit card debt. He put it all in my name. I'm working 2 jobs, but I can barely make the minimum payments. And I'm so close to finishing the coaching program, just 3 more months, but I can't afford the last installment. It's $30,000. I kept my face neutral. That's a lot of money. I know it is, and I would never ask you for it, except. She reached across the table, stopped just short of touching my hand. I heard about your inheritance. Congratulations, by the way. Your uncle sounds like he was a wonderful man. He was, I said quietly. Michael, I know I have no right to ask this, but if you could help me, just this once, just to get me through this rough patch, I would pay you back, every cent. I'd draw up a contract, make it legal, whatever you need. And more than that, it would give me the chance to actually make things right between us. Make things right how? Well, once I'm certified, I'll be making real money. 6 figures, potentially. I could pay you back within a year, maybe less, and we could. I don't know, maybe we could be friends. I'm not asking for more than that, I swear. But I miss you, Michael. I miss talking to you. I miss who I was when I was trying to be the kind of person who deserved you. It was a masterclass in manipulation. The vulnerability, the specific numbers, the promise of repayment, the hint of reconciliation. If I hadn't known it was all a lie, if I hadn't heard Melissa's voice on the phone talking about Caroline's pride, preventing her from asking directly, I might have actually fallen for it. That's a lot to think about, I said. I know I'm not expecting an answer today. Just think about it, please. She pulled out her phone. Here, I can show you the program details, the payment plan, everything. It's all legitimate. She showed me slick brochures for something called the Advanced Relationship Recovery Certification. The website looked professional, but when I glanced at the URL, I noticed it was less than 6 months old. Another piece of the con, probably. Like I said, I need to think about it. Caroline's face lit up with hope that looked almost genuine. Of course, take all the time you need. I'm just so grateful you're even considering it. We talked for another 20 minutes. She asked about my work, my life, my family. She laughed at my jokes. She was the woman I'd fallen in love with, or at least a convincing facsimile. When we finally stood to leave, she did hug me this time, and I let her, feeling her warmth and smelling her familiar perfume, and hatting that some part of me still responded to it. "Thank you for hearing me out," she whispered. "Whatever you decide, thank you." I walked back to the bus stop in a daze. I had it all on tape, the ask, the lie about Derek's debt, the whole pitch. Tom would be thrilled. But I felt sick. Part 6, the truth emerges. Tom was indeed thrilled. This is perfect. We have her dead to rights. The question now is how you want to proceed. We were in his office, listening to the recording for the 3rd time. Jennifer was there too, her face a mask of fury. "She's so good at it," Jennifer said. "Like, if you didn't know better, you'd think she actually cared about him." "That's what makes her dangerous," Tom replied. "Okay, Michael, here's what I propose. We send her a formal cease and desist letter, include a transcript of your recording, make it clear we know about Melissa, about the approach to Marcus, all of it. We threaten criminal charges if she makes any further contact. That should scare her off permanently." "What about the money she already took in the divorce?" Jennifer asked. "Can we get that back?" Tom shook his head. "That settlement is final, but this we can stop." I thought about Caroline sitting in that cafe, spinning her web. I thought about Marcus, who'd been offered $10,000 to betray me. I thought about Melissa, whoever she really was, and how many other people might be involved in Caroline's schemes. "I want to know more," I said slowly. "Before we shut this down, I want to understand the full scope of what she's doing." Tom raised an eyebrow. "What do you mean?" "That coaching program, the website looks fake. What if this isn't just about me? What if she's running multiple cons?" Jennifer leaned forward. "You think other people are being scammed?" "Maybe. Tom, can you have someone investigate this Advanced Relationship Recovery Certification? And Melissa Hartwell, I want to know who these people really are." Tom nodded slowly. "I know a good private investigator. It'll cost you, though." "I've got the money," I said grimly. "Thanks to Uncle Raymond, might as well put it to good use." The investigator Tom recommended was a woman named Sandra Torres, former FBI, now freelance, with a reputation for being thorough and discreet. I met with her in her cramped office in Queens, where file boxes lined the walls and 3 computer monitors displayed what looked like surveillance feeds. "Relationship fraud," Sandra said after I'd explained everything. "It's more common than you'd think, usually targeting divorced or widowed people with recent windfalls. The fake coaching program angle is new though, that's clever." "How long will it take to dig into this?" "Give me a week, I'll find out who Melissa really is, whether this coaching program has other victims, and what Caroline's been up to since your divorce. You might not like what I find." "I already don't like any of this." Sandra smiled grimly. "Fair enough, I'll be in touch." The week felt eternal. I went to work, rode the bus. Marcus always gave me a questioning look, and I'd shake my head slightly to indicate nothing had resolved yet, and tried not to think about Caroline's hug, the way she'd smelled like jasmine and lies. Caroline texted me twice, once to say how nice it had been to see me, and how she hoped I'd think about what she'd asked. Once to share a link to a meditation app, saying it had been helping her and she thought I might like it too. I didn't respond to either message, per Tom's instructions. Then on day 6, Sandra called. "You need to come to my office. Now." The urgency in her voice made my stomach drop. I left work early, made excuses to my boss, and took a cab to Queens. Sandra's expression was serious when she let me in. "Sit down, this is bigger than we thought." She pulled up a series of documents on her computer. "Melissa Hartwell is really Melissa Chen. She's Caroline's cousin. They've been running variations of this scam for at least 3 years, targeting divorced men with money. Usually they find marks through social media, guys who post about inheritances, divorce settlements, new businesses." My hands clenched into fists. "How many people?" "At least 7 that I can confirm. Probably more. The pattern is always the same. Caroline or Melissa befriends the mark, establishes trust. Then Caroline swoops in as the reformed ex or the vulnerable new girlfriend. They usually ask for between $20,000 and $50,000 for some kind of emergency or opportunity. Life coaching certification, medical bills, business investment. Once they get the money, they ghost. Jesus Christ. It gets worse. Sandra pulled up another document. The Advanced Relationship Recovery Certification is a real program, but it costs $1,200, not $30,000. Caroline did complete it, probably to make her story more convincing, but the website she showed you, that's fake. She and Melissa created it specifically to scam you. I felt like I might be sick. Have any of the other victims reported this to the police? Only one. Case was dismissed due to lack of evidence. He'd given her the money willingly, and she deleted all their communications before he realized it was a scam. The others, I found them through social media breadcrumbs and credit card trails. I doubt they even realized they were scammed. Caroline's very good at making it look like a relationship that just didn't work out. What about the bus driver? I asked. Marcus said she offered him $10,000. Where was that money coming from? Sandra's expression darkened. Previous victims. She's been living off this for years. No legitimate job, no income I can trace. Just fraud, one mark after another. The room spun slightly. I'd known Caroline was trying to con me, but learning it was her profession, her lifestyle, made it so much worse. There's one more thing, Sandra said quietly. I looked into her relationship with Derek. The story she told you about him leaving her with debt and running off to Costa Rica, mostly true. But here's the kicker, they were in business together. He was running the same kind of scams, targeting divorced women. They met at some kind of seminar for people who do this stuff. There's a whole underground community. You're kidding. I wish I was, best guess. Derek got spooked when one of his marks threatened to go to the police, and he bylaid. Left Caroline holding the bag on some genuine debt they'd accumulated. So now she's desperate, which is why she came after you so aggressively. She needs money to pay off creditors who are less forgiving than her usual victims. I sat back, overwhelmed. What do we do with all this? That's up to you. We could go to the police, try to build a case. But honestly, Michael, these cases are hard to prosecute. She's careful. She doesn't leave much evidence. The recording you got is good, but a decent lawyer could argue she was just asking a friend for help, not committing fraud. So she just gets away with it. Sandra was quiet for a moment. Not necessarily. Here's what I'm thinking. We compile everything I've found, all the victims, all the evidence of the pattern. We present it to Caroline, along with your recording and the evidence of Melissa's involvement. We make it clear that if she ever contacts you or anyone connected to you again, all of this goes to the FBI. Wire fraud is a federal crime if she used any electronic communications across state lines, which she definitely did. Would that actually scare her off? If she's smart, yes. Federal prison is no joke. And we'd also warn the coaching certification program that she's using their name to run scams. That cuts off one of her tools. We can even contact the previous victims, let them know what happened, see if any want to pursue charges. Death by 1,000 cuts. It wasn't the justice I wanted, handcuffs, a trial, vindication, but it was something. Let's do it. Part 7, Confrontation. Tom drafted the letter. It was 12 pages long, meticulously detailed, citing specific laws and potential charges. It outlined everything, the approach to Marcus, Melissa's role, the fake website, the pattern of previous victims. It included screenshots, recordings, financial records Sandra had uncovered. It was, in Tom's words, a nuclear option. We send this, she'll know we're serious, he said. The question is whether to send it by certified mail or deliver it in person. In person, I said. I want to see her face when she realizes we know everything. Jennifer wanted to come with me, so did Tom. In the end, it was the three of us plus Sandra, who'd agreed to come along in case things got ugly. We arranged to meet Caroline at a neutral location, a hotel lobby downtown, public enough to be safe but private enough for a serious conversation. I texted Caroline, need to talk. It's important. Can you meet at the Meridian Hotel lobby tomorrow at 2 p.m.? Her response was almost instant. Of course, is everything okay? We'll talk tomorrow. Okay, I'll be there, see you then. The Meridian's lobby was all marble and uncomfortable modern furniture. Caroline arrived exactly on time, wearing jeans and a sweater, looking nervous and hopeful. Her expression changed when she saw it wasn't just me, Tom and Jennifer flanking me, Sandra standing slightly apart, observing. Michael, what's going on? Sit down, Caroline, Tom said, his lawyer voice in full effect. We need to have a conversation. She sat, her eyes darting between us, and I saw the exact moment she realized this wasn't going to go the way she'd planned. Fear flickered across her face, quickly masked. Tom slid the letter across the table. That's for you, read it. Caroline picked it up with trembling hands. Her face went pale as she skimmed the first page, then paler still as she continued. When she got to the section about Melissa, about the previous victims, about the fake website, she set it down like it had burned her. This isn't. She looked at me, and for the first time since I'd known her, I saw genuine panic. Michael, this is all a misunderstanding. Which part? I asked coldly. The part where you tried to bribe my bus driver. The part where you had your cousin pretend to be worried about you to manipulate my sister. Or the part where you've been running the same scam on divorced men for 3 years. I wasn't scamming anyone, I asked for help. Is that a crime? Sandra stepped forward. Actually, yes, wire fraud, attempted fraud, conspiracy to commit fraud, all crimes, all with federal penalties. Caroline's eyes widened. Who are you? Private investigator. And before you think about lying your way out of this, I've documented everything. Every victim, every fake story, every electronic communication. The FBI would love this case. The FBI, Caroline's voice cracked. Michael, come on, we were married, you can't do this to me. Watch me, I said, surprised by how calm I felt. The anger was there, but underneath it was something closer to relief. This was ending, finally ending. You have 2 options, Caroline. Option 1, you never contact me, Jennifer, or anyone associated with us ever again. You shut down whatever scams you're running. You disappear from our lives completely. If you do that, we don't take this to the authorities. And option 2. Tom answered, we send everything to the FBI, the district attorney, and the New York State Attorney General. We contact every victim Sandra found and help them file charges. We make sure every news outlet knows your name and your face. You'll be famous, Caroline, just not the way you want. She sat there, the letter clutched in her hands, and I watched her try to find an angle, a way to manipulate this situation. I could almost see the gears turning, but there was no angle. We had her. I need time to think, she finally said. No, Sandra said. You need to decide right now. Because if you walk out of this hotel without agreeing to option 1, we make a phone call, and by tomorrow morning, you'll have federal agents at your door. Caroline looked at me one last time. The mask was completely gone now. No more vulnerability, no more regret, no more performance. Just cold calculation and underneath that fear. Fine, she said. I agree to option 1. I won't contact any of you again. That's not enough, Tom said. He pulled out another document. You're going to sign this. It's a legally binding agreement that you'll cease all contact with Michael, Jennifer, and their families. It includes penalties if you violate it, financial penalties you can't afford, and you're going to provide us with Melissa's real contact information and any other accomplices you've been working with. I can't. You can and you will, or we make that phone call right now. It took another hour of back and forth, but eventually Caroline signed everything. She provided Melissa Chen's contact information, along with the names of 2 other people who'd helped her with various scams. She agreed to shut down the fake coaching program website. She agreed to never use Marcus or any other person connected to me as part of any future schemes. When it was done, she stood up, her face a mask of hatred. You're really going to ruin my life over this? You tried to ruin mine, I said quietly. I'm just making sure you can't do it to anyone else. She left without another word. We watched her walk out of the hotel lobby and disappear into the Manhattan afternoon. That was intense, Jennifer said, exhaling hard. It's not over yet, Sandra warned. People like her don't change. She'll lay low for a while, but eventually she'll be back to her old tricks, just with different victims. Then we make sure those victims know what to look for, I said. Can you send warnings to the other people you identified? Let them know what happened. Already planning on it. Tom gathered up his papers. Michael, you should also consider filing a report with the police anyway, even if they can't prosecute. Get it on record. If she violates the agreement, we'll need that paper trail. I nodded, feeling exhausted and relieved in equal measure. Thank you, all of you. Part 8, Aftermath. Life didn't immediately return to normal, but it settled into a new shape. I filed a police report detailing everything, which the detective acknowledged would likely not lead to charges, but would be valuable if Caroline reoffended. Sandra sent detailed emails to the 7 victims she'd identified, explaining Caroline's pattern. 3 of them responded, one with fury, demanding to know how to press charges, one with resignation, saying he'd suspected but had been too embarrassed to follow up, and one thanking her for the closure. Marcus was relieved when I told him it was over. That woman had bad energy from the start, he said. You did the right thing. Shutting her down. I had help, I said. Speaking of which, she tried to bribe you with $10,000. If you'd taken it, would you have actually helped her? Marcus was quiet for a moment. Nah, I'd have taken the money, told you about the whole thing anyway, and given you half. He grinned. But it's better this way, cleaner. Jennifer threw me a freedom party, which was really just dinner at her place with too much wine and a cake that said congratulations on not getting scammed. We laughed about it, but underneath the humor was real gratitude that we'd caught Caroline's scheme before it succeeded. 2 weeks after the hotel confrontation, I got an email from an address I didn't recognize. The subject line was just sorry. I almost deleted it without reading, but curiosity won. Michael, I know I'm not supposed to contact you, and I know this violates the agreement, but I needed to say this, and then I promise you'll never hear from me again. You were right about everything. I've been running scams for years. It started small. After my parents cut me off when I dropped out of college, I learned that people would help you if you told them the right story. And then it became easier than getting a real job and more lucrative. Derek taught me how to professionalize it, how to find marks and build longer cons. I told myself it wasn't really hurting anyone. These were men with money to spare, and I was just redistributing it. But sitting in that hotel lobby, seeing your face, I realized what I'd become. I turned into exactly the kind of person I used to despise. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm not asking for anything. I just wanted you to know that what you did, exposing me, threatening me, forcing me to stop, it was the right thing to do. I needed to be stopped. Maybe hitting rock bottom will be what finally changes me, or maybe not. But either way, you deserved better than what I did to you. You deserved better when we were married, and you deserved better than me trying to scam you 18 months later. I'm leaving New York, starting over somewhere else with a real job this time. No more scams. I can't promise I'll become a good person, but I can at least try to stop being an actively harmful one. I hope you find happiness, Michael. Real happiness, with someone who deserves you. Caroline. I forwarded the email to Tom. Violation of the agreement, I asked. His response came within minutes. Technically yes, but I'd recommend letting this one slide. If she's really leaving New York and going straight, that's the best possible outcome. If she contacts you again after this, we'll throw the book at her. I thought about it for a long time. Then I wrote a single-line response to Caroline's email. Get help, real help, good luck. I never heard from her again. Part 9, moving forward. 6 months later, I was still taking the 43 bus every morning, still nodding to Marcus, still going to my steady but unexciting job, analyzing systems and risk patterns. But something had shifted inside me. Uncle Raymond's inheritance had been meant to give me a fresh start, and in a strange way, Caroline's attempted scam had done exactly that. It had forced me to confront the fact that I'd been living a half-life since the divorce, going through motions, keeping my head down, not really engaging with the world. I started making changes, small ones at first. I joined a book club that met at Morty's Cafe, reclaiming that space for myself. I took a weekend trip to Vermont just because I'd never been. I said yes when a colleague asked if I wanted to join her recreational soccer league, even though I hadn't played since high school. Jennifer noticed. You seem different, she said one Sunday when we met for brunch. Lighter somehow. I feel like I got a second chance, I admitted. Caroline tried to take something from me, and instead I ended up taking my life back. That's almost profound, she grinned. Don't let it go to your head. I also made a point of thanking the people who'd helped me. I took Marcus out for dinner at a nice steakhouse, his choice. He brought his daughter, who was indeed about my age and who spent the evening telling embarrassing stories about her dad with obvious affection. You raised her right, I told Marcus as we said goodbye that night. Tried my best, he said, just like I tried to do right by you. We look out for each other, that's how it should be. I sent Sandra Torres a glowing review and recommended her to 2 friends going through complicated divorces. I referred several new clients to Tom, and I donated $10,000 to an organization that helped fraud victims, a way of using Uncle Raymond's money to prevent others from going through what I'd almost experienced. But the person I was most grateful to was someone I'd never expected, Caroline herself. Not for trying to scam me, obviously, but for being so transparent about it, so obvious that she'd activated every protective instinct and warning system I had. Her con had been elaborate, but not quite elaborate enough. She'd underestimated Marcus's integrity, Jennifer's loyalty, and my own capacity to learn from my mistakes. In trying to exploit my trust, she'd actually taught me something valuable. Trust, but verify. Be open to people, but not naive. Give people chances, but protect yourself while doing so. Part 10, Full Circle. A year after the confrontation at the Meridian Hotel, I was sitting at Morty's with my book club, discussing a novel about con artists, chosen by me, perhaps not coincidentally, when someone sat down at the table next to ours. I glanced over automatically and did a double take. It was Melissa Chen, or the woman I'd known as Melissa Hartwell. She was alone, working on a laptop, coffee untouched beside her. Our eyes met. She recognized me at the same moment I recognized her. Her face went white. I excused myself from my book club and walked over to her table. "Melissa," I said quietly. "Michael, I didn't know you came here. I just moved back to the city and I was looking for a place to work and—" "Relax," I said. "I'm not going to cause a scene, but I am curious. What are you doing back in New York?" She closed her laptop. "Caroline didn't tell you." "Tell me what?" "She's in prison, Arizona. She violated her parole. She had a suspended sentence from a fraud case out there years ago. When everything went down with you, someone tipped off her parole officer. She tried to run a new scam in Phoenix 6 months ago, got caught, and now she's serving her original sentence plus the new charges." I sat down across from Melissa, uninvited. "How long?" 3 to 5 years, maybe more, depending on the charges they're still building." "And you?" Melissa looked at her hands. "I got a deal. Testified against her, agreed to counseling, community service, paid restitution to the victims I helped her scam. I'm on probation for 2 years, but if I stay clean, it stays off my record." "Why did you do it?" I asked. "Help her, I mean. She's your cousin. Couldn't you see what she was becoming?" She was family, and honestly, she made it seem so easy, so victimless. Just rich guys with more money than sense, she'd say. By the time I realized how dark it had gotten, I was already complicit. Melissa looked up at me. "What you did, exposing us, stopping us, you probably saved me from ending up in prison too. So thank you, I mean that." I didn't know what to say to that. "I'm trying to build a real life now," Melissa continued. "Real job, real relationships, no more scams. It's harder than I thought it would be, but it's better." "Good," I said, and I meant it. We talked for another 15 minutes. She told me about her job at a non-profit helping immigrants navigate legal services. I told her about my book club, my soccer league, the small ways I'd rebuilt my life. It was surreal, sitting across from someone who'd tried to help rob me, having a civil conversation. As I stood to leave, Melissa said, "The bus driver, Marcus, did he ever cash that check Caroline sent him?" "What check?" "After you turned her down, after everything fell apart, she was furious. She sent him a check for $10,000 anyway, with a note saying it was for his trouble. I thought it was insane, throwing good money after bad. But she was so angry, so convinced that if he'd just helped her from the start, everything would have worked out." I felt a chill run down my spine. When did she send this? "Right before she left New York, about a week after your meeting at the hotel." I pulled out my phone and texted Marcus. "Did Caroline ever send you money? A check?" His response came quickly. "Yeah, about a year back, didn't cash it, felt wrong, still have it somewhere." I looked at Melissa. "He didn't cash it." "He's a good man then, there aren't many of those." I returned to my book club, but I couldn't focus on the discussion. That night, I met Marcus at his usual diner and bought him dinner again. "Tell me about the check," I said. He pulled a folded envelope from his wallet. Inside was a check for $10,000, dated nearly a year ago, signed by Caroline. It had never been cashed, and by now it was certainly void. "Why did you keep it?" I asked. Marcus shrugged. "Evidence, maybe, or just a reminder." "A reminder of what?" "That sometimes doing the right thing means turning down easy money. That's a lesson worth keeping close." He looked at the check, then at me. "You want this, maybe for your lawyer for the case." "The case is long over," I said. "Caroline's in prison in Arizona, but yeah, I'll take it. I think I want to keep it too, my own reminder." Marcus handed it over. "You know what I think, Michael. I think you came out of this whole thing stronger than when you went in. That's how you know you won, not because she's in prison, but because you're better than you were before." He was right. Caroline had tried to exploit me, to use my trust and my inheritance for her own gain. But in the end, all she'd done was teach me how strong I really was, how good the people around me were, and how valuable it was to trust my instincts. Part 11, Ripple Effects. 8 months after my conversation with Melissa at Morty's, I received a phone call from a number I didn't recognize. I almost didn't answer. Old habits from the Caroline era, but something made me pick up. "Is this Michael Brennan?" A woman's voice, professional but warm. Speaking. My name is Andrea Walsh. I'm a reporter with the New York Observer. I'm doing a story on romance fraud and financial exploitation schemes, and your name came up in connection with a case involving Caroline Westfield. Would you be willing to talk to me? My first instinct was to say no. The whole ordeal was behind me. But then I thought about the 7 victims Sandra had identified, about the men who'd been too embarrassed to come forward, about the next person Caroline might have targeted if we hadn't stopped her. What kind of story? I asked. A feature on how these scams work, how to recognize them, and how victims can protect themselves. You'd be anonymous, of course, but your case is interesting because you actually caught on before losing any money. That's rare. We met for coffee 3 days later. Andrea was in her mid-40s, sharp-eyed and direct. She'd been investigating financial fraud for 15 years and had seen every variation of the con. The romance scam is the fastest-growing fraud category in the country, she explained. People lost over $1 billion to it last year alone, but most victims never report it because they're ashamed. They think they should have known better. I almost didn't report it either, I admitted. What made you? I thought about it. My sister. She refused to let me feel ashamed for almost being conned. She made me see it as something that was done to me, not something I did wrong. Andrea made notes. That's the key message I want to get across. These are sophisticated psychological operations. The victims aren't stupid, they're human. Over the next 2 hours, I walked her through the entire story. The divorce, Uncle Raymond's inheritance, Caroline's reappearance, the escalating requests for money, Marcus's warning, Jennifer's investigation, Tom's involvement, Sandra's discoveries. All of it. This Marcus character, Andrea said, the bus driver, he's the hero of this story. He'd hate that description, I said, smiling, but you're not wrong. Would he talk to me? I texted Marcus right there. His response, I ain't no hero, but yeah, I'll talk to her. These scammers need to be exposed. The article ran 6 weeks later. Andrea had interviewed me, Marcus, Tom, Sandra, 2 of Caroline's other victims who agreed to speak anonymously, and an FBI agent who specialized in fraud cases. It was comprehensive, unflinching, and devastating. The headline read, The Ex-Wife Scam, How Romance Fraudsters Exploit Trust and Target Inheritance. My phone started ringing within an hour of publication. Jennifer called first. Michael, you're going to want to sit down for this. Why? What's wrong? Nothing's wrong. Check your email, the one connected to your LinkedIn. I opened my laptop. My inbox was flooded. Messages from strangers thanking me for speaking out, from other fraud victims sharing their stories, from journalists requesting interviews, from a podcast producer asking if I'd appear as a guest. But one email stood out. The sender was identified as Victor Brennan. My father. We hadn't spoken in 4 years. The divorce had created a rift. He'd never liked Caroline, and when I married her against his advice, he'd taken it as a personal betrayal. When she left me, he'd said, I told you so, instead of I'm here for you, and that had been the end of our relationship. I opened the email with trembling hands. Michael. I read the article in the Observer. I didn't know about any of this. I didn't know Caroline had come back, didn't know about Uncle Raymond's inheritance, didn't know you'd been through something like this. I should have known, I should have been there. I'm your father, and I let my pride and stubbornness cost me 4 years of your life. I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't even expect you to respond to this email, but I needed you to know that I'm proud of you, proud of how you handled this situation, proud of the man you've become, proud that you didn't let bitterness turn you into someone you're not. If you ever want to talk, I'm here. If you don't, I understand. Dad. I stared at the screen for a long time. Jennifer's voice came through the phone, which I'd forgotten I was still holding. Michael, you still there? My father emailed me. Victor, what did he say? I read her the email. She was quiet for a moment, then said, What are you going to do? I don't know. Part of me wants to delete it and pretend I never saw it. Part of me wants to call him right now. What does your gut say? I closed my eyes, checking in with myself. My gut says that life's too short to hold grudges, that Caroline almost scammed me because I was isolated and vulnerable, that maybe I need my father back in my life. Then call him. I did. We talked for 2 hours. It was awkward at first, stilted and formal, but gradually the ice melted. He apologized for his behavior after the divorce. I apologized for shutting him out. We agreed to meet for dinner the following week. It wasn't a magical reconciliation. We didn't become best friends overnight, but it was a start, and that was something. Part 12, Unexpected Allies. The Observer article created waves I hadn't anticipated. Within a month, I was contacted by a victims advocacy group asking if I'd be willing to speak at events about recognizing fraud. I initially declined. I wasn't comfortable with the idea of public speaking, but Jennifer convinced me otherwise. "You have a gift for explaining things clearly," she said, "and you have credibility. You're not a cop or a lawyer or an expert witness. You're just a regular person who got targeted and fought back. People will relate to that." My first speaking engagement was at a community center in Brooklyn. 20 people attended, mostly older adults who'd seen the article and wanted to learn how to protect themselves. I was terrified. But once I started talking, something shifted. I told Caroline's story, our story, not as a victim, but as someone who'd learned hard lessons and wanted to share them. I talked about red flags, about trusting your instincts, about the importance of having people in your life who will tell you hard truths. During the Q&A, a woman in her 70s raised her hand. "My daughter keeps telling me I'm too trusting. She says I shouldn't help people who ask for money online, but isn't that just being cold?" "There's a difference between being kind and being a mark," I said gently. "You can still help people, donate to verified charities, volunteer your time, support causes you believe in. But if someone you barely know is asking for money, especially with an urgent or emotional story, that's a red flag. Real emergencies can usually be verified. Scams fall apart under scrutiny." She nodded thoughtfully. "That makes sense." After the event, Marcus showed up. I hadn't known he was coming. "Wanted to see you do your thing," he said. "You were good up there, natural." I was terrified. "Couldn't tell, you reminded me of a teacher I had back in the day, made complicated stuff make sense." He paused. "You thinking about doing more of these?" "Maybe, if it helps people." "It will, trust me." Over the next 6 months, I spoke at a dozen events. Libraries, community centers, senior centers, even a college class on consumer protection. Each time I refined the presentation, added new examples, answered questions I'd never considered. And each time, at least one person would approach me afterward with their own story. A man who'd lost his retirement savings to a fake investment scheme. A woman who'd been catfished by someone claiming to be a deployed soldier. A couple who'd nearly been scammed by fake grandchildren calling with bail money requests. I started collecting these stories, documenting them with permission. Sandra Torres helped me organize them into a database: patterns, tactics, warning signs. We shared it with law enforcement, with advocacy groups, with anyone who could use it to prevent future fraud. One evening, Tom called me. "I have a proposition for you." Should I be worried? Probably. I'm working with a nonprofit that helps fraud victims with legal issues, filing reports, recovering assets, that kind of thing. They need someone who understands the psychology of these scams and can explain it to victims who are in denial or shame. Someone who's been there, interested. As a volunteer. To start, yeah, but if it works out, it could become a paid consulting gig. You'd help develop training materials, maybe work directly with victims who need that perspective. I thought about my job, still steady, still boring, still unfulfilling. I thought about the speaking engagements, about the emails I got from people thanking me for sharing my story, about the satisfaction I felt when someone told me I'd helped them avoid a scam. "Let me think about it," I said. But I already knew my answer. Part 13, The Caroline Effect. 18 months after Caroline went to prison, I got a letter from her. It was forwarded through Tom's office. She wasn't allowed to contact me directly, but the prison system had apparently approved this one communication. I almost threw it away without reading it, but curiosity won again. "Michael, I know I'm not supposed to contact you, and I know you have no reason to believe anything I say, but I'm writing this not to ask for anything, just to tell you something I think you should know. Prison changes you, not always for the better. A lot of women in here just get harder, meaner, better at crime. But for me, it's been different. I've had a lot of time to think about what I became and why. I've been seeing a therapist here, court-mandated at first, but now I go voluntarily. She's helped me understand that the scamming wasn't just about money. It was about power, about feeling in control when everything else in my life felt chaotic. My parents cut me off, my marriage fell apart, I felt like I was drowning, and scamming made me feel smart, capable, in charge. But it also made me a monster. I read the article in The Observer, the one where you and Marcus talked about what I tried to do. It was like looking at myself from the outside for the first time. I saw what you saw, a predator targeting vulnerable people, and I was ashamed in a way I've never been ashamed before. Here's what I want you to know. There are 11 other women in this facility who are here for fraud-related crimes. Romance scams, inheritance scams, elder fraud. After the article came out, a few of them recognized your name and mine. We started talking, and gradually something unexpected happened. We formed a support group. Not official, the prison doesn't recognize it. But once a week, we meet in the library and we talk about why we did what we did, about the damage we caused, about how to be better when we get out. 3 of the women have started writing letters of apology to their victims. 2 have agreed to testify in other fraud cases. 1 is working on a book about how these scams operate from the inside, hoping it can be used to educate people. I'm telling you this because you started something when you exposed me. You created a ripple effect. The article led to more awareness, which led to more arrests, which led to more people like me having to confront what we'd become. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm not asking for anything. I just wanted you to know that what you did mattered. It's still mattering. I'll be eligible for parole in 14 months. When I get out, I'm planning to work with fraud prevention organizations, to use my expertise for something good instead of something destructive. Maybe that's naive. Maybe I'll fail, but I'm going to try. Thank you for stopping me before I hurt more people. Thank you for being strong enough to fight back. And thank you for being the kind of person who chose education and prevention over revenge. Caroline. I showed the letter to Jennifer that night over dinner at her place. She read it twice, then looked at me. What do you think? Is it genuine? I think, maybe, prison letters are easy to fake, but some of the details ring true, the part about power and control especially. Are you going to respond? I shook my head. No, she's on her own journey now. I'm on mine. Those paths don't need to cross again. Fair enough. Jennifer poured us more wine. Speaking of your journey, Dad told me you reconciled with Victor. How's that going? Better than I expected. We have dinner every other week. It's still a little awkward, but we're working on it. I paused. He actually apologized to you too, did you know that? Yeah, he called me last week. Said he was sorry for being absent, for letting his issues with you affect his relationship with me. She smiled. I told him he was a stubborn old goat, but I was glad to have him back. Diplomatic as always. Hey, someone in this family has to be honest. She raised her glass. To second chances for everyone. We clinked glasses, and I thought about all the second chances that had emerged from this mess. My second chance at a relationship with my father. Melissa's second chance at a legitimate life. Caroline's potential second chance after prison. Even the victims who'd been scammed but were now more aware, more careful, they had second chances too. The next day, I took Tom up on his offer. I gave notice at my analysis job and started working with the fraud prevention nonprofit. The pay was less, but the work was meaningful in a way my old job had never been. I helped develop training programs for bank employees to recognize fraud attempts. I consulted on cases where victims were too embarrassed or confused to articulate what had happened to them. I spoke at senior centers, colleges, community groups, anywhere people were willing to listen. And slowly, my life filled with purpose. Epilogue 2 years later. It's a Tuesday morning, and I'm on the 43 bus heading downtown. Marcus is driving, same as always. He nods to me when I board, and I nod back. Some things don't change. But most things do. I'm heading to a television studio for an interview about the fraud prevention guide I co-wrote with Sandra Torres. It's been optioned by a major publisher and is being released nationwide next month. The advance was generous enough that I've started a small scholarship fund, the Raymond Brennan Memorial Scholarship, helping young people pursue careers in consumer protection and victim advocacy. My phone buzzes. A text from Jennifer. Good luck on the interview. Dad and I will be watching. Try not to say too much. I smile and pocket the phone. Another text, this one from Melissa Chen. Saw you're going to be on Morning Edition. Proud of you. You turned something terrible into something good. Melissa and I aren't friends exactly, but we're in touch. She's been working at the nonprofit for a year now, helping immigrant communities recognize and report fraud. She's good at it. Her experience as a scammer gives her insight into how these operations work. Last month, she helped take down a ring targeting elderly Korean immigrants. The FBI agent on the case said her testimony was instrumental. She sent me a photo of herself with the investigative team, grinning, and I could see it in her face, the relief of finally being on the right side. A third text from my father. Break a leg, son. Your mother would be proud of you. My mother died when I was 12, long before any of this happened. But he's right, she would be proud. She always said the best revenge is living well, becoming better than the people who hurt you. I'd say I got my revenge on Caroline, not by seeing her imprisoned, though there's a certain justice in that, but by taking what she tried to do to me and transforming it into something that helps others, by refusing to let her actions make me bitter or cynical, by building a life that matters. The bus pulls up to my stop. I stand and Marcus calls out, "Hey, Michael." I turn back. "You make sure you tell them about the importance of community, yeah, about looking out for each other. That's what stops these scammers, people caring enough to pay attention." "I will, I promise." "Good man," he nods and closes the doors, pulling back into traffic. I walk into the studio building, check in with security, get mic'd up by a technician. The host, a cheerful woman named Diana, reviews the talking points with me. "We'll start with your personal story," she says, "then move into the broader issue of fraud prevention. We've got about 8 minutes total, so we'll need to keep it moving." "Understood. And Michael, thank you for doing this. A lot of people are too ashamed to talk about being targeted by scams. The fact that you're willing to be public about it, that helps more than you know." The interview goes well. I tell Caroline's story without anger, without bitterness. I talk about warning signs, about the psychology of scams, about the importance of verification and community support. I mention Marcus, though I keep him anonymous as he prefers. When it's over, Diana thanks me and says, "You're a natural at this. Ever consider doing this full-time? Media advocacy?" "I'm pretty full-time already," I say, "but maybe someday." Outside the studio, the morning sun is bright. I have 3 hours before my next meeting, a consultation with a law firm representing a group of elder fraud victims, so I decide to walk. My phone rings, unknown number. I almost don't answer, old instincts still firing, but then I remember I'm not afraid anymore, I'm prepared. "Michael Brennan." "Mr. Brennan, this is Special Agent Foster with the FBI's Financial Crimes Unit. I watched your interview this morning. I was wondering if you had time to meet. We're building a task force on romance and inheritance fraud, and we'd like your input on victim psychology and prevention strategies." I smile. "I'd be happy to help, when works for you." We schedule a meeting for next week. I hang up and continue walking, thinking about how strange life is. 2 years ago, I was a divorced man going through the motions, trying to figure out what to do with an unexpected inheritance. Now I'm consulting with the FBI, appearing on television, making a real difference in people's lives. Uncle Raymond would have loved this. He always said money should be used to make the world better, not just to make yourself more comfortable. I think I'm finally doing that. I pass Morty's cafe and see the book club through the window. They've moved to mornings since I started working irregular hours. Emily waves at me and I wave back. Life is full now. Not perfect, but full, meaningful, connected. My phone buzzes again. This time it's a calendar reminder. Dinner with Dad and Jennifer, 7 p.m. Family dinner. A year ago, that would have seemed impossible. Now it's routine, something I look forward to. I think about Caroline sometimes, about whether she's really changed, whether her letter was genuine, whether she'll stay straight when she gets out of prison. I hope she does. Not for my sake, but for hers, and for the sake of everyone she might have hurt otherwise. But ultimately, her choices aren't my responsibility. I stopped her once, and that was enough. The rest is up to her. What I've learned from all of this is surprisingly simple. People will try to take advantage of you. That's just reality. The question isn't how to prevent that. You can't, not entirely. The question is how you respond when it happens. You can let it make you cynical, closed off, bitter. Or you can let it make you stronger, wiser, more compassionate toward others who have been through the same thing. I chose the second path, and it made all the difference.